It's going down for real. No, 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 no.
Oh no, oh no.
Joss Whedon, everybody.
The man, the legend, Zachary Levi. Thank you, brother. I'm not going to dance in front of these people until I can afford an entire pair of pants.
You got questions, he's got answers.
You've got questions. Thank you for coming to see me. Yes, Zach and I like to dance together. It's fun, but I'm here for you, and I am listening. Okay. Do we have a system for when people have questions? All right. Sorry? Oh, I get to pick? Well, if somebody raises their hand, I'll pick them like you just did.
Hi. Oh, okay. I get the microphone too. Yeah.
It's your time to shine.
All right. This is my question. It's been sitting with me for a while. I love all your work, by the way. Yeah, it's great. If I were to make a film, but I didn't have a major budget, where would be the best place to produce it and gather a lot of major interest?
Well, gather a lot of major interest is a tough one. Produce it, every place is good. And more, there are lots of facilities and crews because people can shoot anywhere. But honestly, LA is still the place where they run the deepest, where you have just so many great people who, I just shot a video for my folk album. Don't stop. Calm the fuck down. Okay? We got extraordinary people because we did it on a weekend, and obviously I can call them favorites and things, but there are so many people who are coming up there who are making stuff that looks so professional, so that would be my first answer. But then I'm gonna make it really long, like I do with all of my answers. Okay. Sir, white hat.
Hi, my name is Leonard. I'm a massive fan of your work, of course. I run a small podcast talking about San Diego Comic-Con, and I have been stopped in the street several times this weekend, and I've had a lot of fun, and it's freaked me the hell out, quite frankly. When did you start feeling that transition between being a writer and a celebrity, and how did you handle it?
Security. Out there. I cannot use the word celebrity without like a little giggle. But first time I ever came to San Diego for the con, we had just put Buffy out mid-season. We didn't really know if people were into it. It was me and Nikki and Allie, and we went out, and there was, it was not one of the biggest halls, but it was pretty big. There was a couple thousand people, and they cheered. And then they cheered when I walked on. I was like, no, I'm the writer. And then we did autograph signings, and I spent the entire time going, are you sure? They're famous. I'm gonna make it worse. I couldn't. And then gradually I was like, would you like my autograph? Oh, no, you're arresting me. I'm sorry, I thought you wanted. This is so awkward. This is a public toilet. Well, anyway, that's not important. We don't need to know everything about how Zach and I met, but trying not to get asked back. It was great. That was fun. Ooh, this wave of approbation there. First thing somebody said was like, say it. I was like, say it. And eventually I figured out, I'm like, arg. And then I went down on the floor like a crack addict. It's just like somebody recognized me. It was very instructive. It was very instructive. I think Nikki had a little breakdown. We were all just like not ready. And then it's been the greatest thing, and here's why, because I am a writer. So when people come up to me, it's not like, oh, I've imprinted on your face something about my childhood and sexual offense. It's just like, oh, I like that thing that you like. It's been great. I knew when I did Avengers that would change a little bit, where there would be fans, like the Buffy fans, the Firefly fans, and particularly starting with the Buffy fans, they got it on a level that just the moment somebody came up to me in the street, we were speaking the same language. The Avengers obviously was much more widely popular, but maybe not as deeply. So sometimes there are times when I'm like, it's too much. I can't do it. I don't have the energy, or I have to get through a bunch of dealers, and then I feel guilty and weird. But I've never felt like unsafe or anything horrible. I'm mostly just like charting my approbation, like how much do they love me? Because it's only gonna be this. It's gonna be like, fans. Or, fans? That's it. That's, so, okay, let's go all the way back. Red shirt. Clearly going to be killed later in this episode. Hey, I don't make the rules. Okay, that one's on Gene.
Hi, Joss. I was wondering, you've done so many different like settings with like Firefly being like a Western and a Space Odyssey and Avengers superheroes and you did Shakespeare as well. What what kind of like next what do you want to do that you haven't done yet? And I know that's like a big thing, but
No, it's a legitimate thing. And I'm working on a screenplay right now that is a historical drama that I'm not really going to talk about, but it checks one of those boxes. Every historical period I want to make a movie about, because historical fiction has so much more in common with sci-fi than almost anything else. You're trying to imagine a world you cannot know, really. Even no matter how many visual clues you might have, you don't understand what it's like there. So you're world building in that, and I love that. Plus outfits. It's amazing because you can't tell by anything I ever put on my body, but I love wardrobe. But I also have to say, kind of feel like I need to get back on a new spaceship. I'm like, it was the great Doug Petrie once said, if there's a submarine in trouble, I'm there. And I'm the same way. Any submarine movie, I have to see it. Spaceships are the same thing. It's like, I gotta see people locked in a tin can and learn about how we all are. That's up there. Okay, ma'am.
Hey.
We meet again.
We do, thank you. I am really excited about Juliet Landau's documentary, A Place Among the Undead. And I wanted to know about your fascination with vampires and also about the tintype photo shoot with Gary Oldman.
The tintype photo shoot, that was amazing. Gary was doing actual tintypes of people, and so I went in and, it's just like available light, but you have to hold perfectly still. It's only 6 seconds. Oddly enough, even if you're really good at it and somebody says, hold still for 6 seconds, you just instantly but it went okay. I've never looked cooler, and it makes me look as old as I actually am, because it's from, I don't know, that technology, turn of last century, but it is, he's so funny and gracious, and then he started talking about Much Ado, and I'm just like, so this is happening. The documentary was really fun. I think my thing started with Nosferatu, which I forgot to mention in the documentary, which makes me crazy. And then I saw Frank Langella play Dracula on Broadway, but then of course everything comes to Interview with the Vampire, which, basically that was the Silence of the Lambs for that genre. She gave us sexy vampires, he gave us sexy serial killers. I'm gonna go with her side.
Hey, big fan. I noticed in your writing, you're obviously known for your kind of wit and zingers and stuff, and I feel a lot of times that can devolve into cynicism, but you keep this air of sincerity and kind of love in it. I was wondering, how do you kind of reconcile those two things while writing? Does it come naturally, or maybe from a love of sci-fi?
Shut up, dork. I think humor is probably associated with cynicism a little bit. It's associated with, oh, you fools, I'm so much smarter than you. But my take has always been, oh, you fools, I love you so much. It's like watching Magnolia. I'd seen a lot of that, the sort of people are terrible and life is depressing, and You know, the kind of movies that Todd Solondz is like, I don't think I can make it through this one. You know, the really sort of cynical ones. And when I watched Magnolia, I spent a lot of the time going, does he hate them? And then I was like, oh, he loves them so much that it's raining frogs. This is my favorite movie of all time. And because I feel like they can be expressed very similarly. You have to look at people with a dispassionate eye if you're gonna try to be funny. And you definitely have to have some distance between yourself and everybody else. But there is absolutely nothing about humor that means it has to be divisive. And you know, we can talk about how edgy humor should or shouldn't be, blah, blah, blah. But when you watch something that is just totally, you know, inclusive, it can be just devastatingly funny. For me, what's important is that everybody has the opportunity to be that funny person. That everybody, you know, has the chance to come back at the other person, that nobody is just, you know, a whipping post. It's sort of the most important thing in my work, which is weird because I don't like people, and generally speaking, they try to avoid me, but I guess, you know, that's why they call it fantasy, right? Let's go all the way in the back. Let's go. Sorry. Yeah.
Hi, Firefly is my favorite show of all time, and my second favorite show of all time is Doctor Who. Will you ever write a Doctor Who episode if you're offered?
I'm not sure, and here's why. I'd have to do a lot of research. Like, watch 40 years of television? I mean, I've seen some of it, but let's get real. It would be very daunting, you know, to follow in the footsteps of, you know, Moffat and the guys. Like, it is great. Check back with me when the Doctor is a she. Or Idris Elba. Every question can be actually just have the suffix or Idris Elba. I'm just trying to meet the right girl. Or Idris Elba. Ma'am.
So, kind of switching away from film, do you have something on your personal bucket list that you want to do? It could be a project, or it could be
Or
swimming with
Idris
turtles. Or you could do Idris Elba. I think we'd all be. Anyway, it could be swimming with turtles. It could be a project. Just curious.
Yeah, no. Every art form that I've never done is always, you know, I'm always like, and then I'm going to do that ballet. They're like, yeah, we know. We've heard about how you're going to. And then Dr. Horrible, too. Just shut up. Just do something and stop coming back to the con until you have. Personally, I did go surfing for the first time this year. That was exciting. I did not die. Or what if I did? Man in the back there.
One of my favorite things about Comic-Con is getting together with my friends at the end of the night and saying, what's the favorite thing that you did today or saw today? So, what's been the favorite thing that you have seen or heard or experienced this weekend and you can't say Idris Elba?
That I'm stumped. It's actually been one of the shittier cons. No. I got to geek out on most of the casts of Supergirl and Flash, and quite frankly, that was really fun. That was very important to me. That's something I watch with my kids. I love those shows. Those guys do such a great job, and they were everywhere. They were like rats. At the party last night, I was like, I'm standing next to Cisco, but it's cool. And I met Tatiana Maslany, and like, and then was just like did very, and then left very quickly. That was very cool. Goodbye. And then saw her much later in the evening with a friend. He's like, and this is Tatiana. Oh, and she's like, oh yes, we met earlier. I was like, yes, I made a complete idiot of myself, and I stand by it. And I left. She is amazing. So you know what? Being a geek. Best part of the thing for me is that I get to be the geek. or Idris. Okay. Yes, right at the aisle. Sorry, in the aisle there.
In your everyday life, what movies do you quote from the most?
Oh, what movies do I quote from the most? I don't know. I don't think, I mean, it's Cutting Edge probably has like a way higher percentile than you might expect. And there are things, I mean, you know, there's too many. In fact, I've never said an original sentence in my life. There was a point at which there was like a 10-year span where the only contribution I had to any conversation was, The Simpsons did a funny thing about that. And then I stopped watching The Simpsons, so I had nothing. Gosh. Yeah, no, that's a big one. Groundhog Day, and Office Space, The Matrix. There's, you know, you just gotta mix it up. Yes, ma'am, please.
Speaking of Tatiana Maslany, I think that you write such great female roles, and I think that she is such an amazing actress that the two of you together would really be something amazing.
But does she have range?
I think she's got it in her somewhere. You could pull it out. So my question is, can you see? Hey now, my question is, can you see yourself creating a project with her in mind sometime in the near future? Because I hear her show is ending. I'm just saying.
Yes and no. Yes, because are you fucking kidding? No, because that never works for me. I can never go, God, I love this performer as a person and as a performer. I should think of a thing. I could, but that's not actual creation. That's just me wanting to play with my friends, and every now and then, like with Much Ado, I get to do just that. But in the pure act of creation, I have to sort of like blank that out, because I'll go down a path. Like, but how can I tailor this to this? And most of my friends are actors, and they're very talented and easy on the eyes. And like, there's no reason why they're not bigger stars, and it drives me crazy. And I want to protect them, and I want to like have fun with them, and I want to do all that. But where I need to go is a place where I'm very alone, and find out what the most upsetting and strangest thing that I can figure out is, and only when that's formed, like I'm at the stage now in the screenplay I'm writing where I can sort of go, well, you know, who could play that role? But just sort of as a breezy thought. I don't want to hear their voices, because also you don't want to start just writing, you know, your friends at dinner, the movie. You want to, you know, bring some kind of original thing to the voices of the people once you've created them. So unfortunately, I can't just go, yeah, I'll do that. That would be amazing. If I could just go, if I had something and could just, but it just never. The process has to start with a story. Sir.
I was just wondering, when you create a screenplay like The Avengers, there's so much story, there's so many characters. Do you start it just with a blank slate? Do you use an outline? Do you use some kind of storyboarding? How do you create it? Because there's so much impact in that one movie.
Yeah, we refer to that one as the Vulcan chess, where it's just there's too many things, too many pieces, too many levels. But always an outline, but not first. Generally speaking, if you're making a superhero movie, you know certain things. Things are going to go badly, and then they are going to punch their way to freedom. So you have that. The first part of the process, the part that made me decide to take the first movie and then very separately made me decide to take the second one, was the process of just going, well, what do I love? Like, what moment would be cool? What have I not seen? What would I like to, what would he say? What if she was, et cetera, et cetera. And you get into these moments, and like with the second one, I literally sat down in a pub in London. They said, well, we could make a deal if, you know, you feel like you've got the movie in you. So I was like, I haven't been thinking about it, because, you know, I made the first one. Let me think about it. And 45 minutes later, I had basically filled a notebook. And I just texted my agent. I'm like, oh, yes, please. Yeah, we got to do this. Like, there was so much more I wanted to say. And Once that's done, once you get that, you have that delightful time of just finding these little moments, many of which will not happen, some of which you'll build the entire thing upon. Then you get to structure, then you get to outline, and yes, outline is God. Outline is everything. Everything has to go on the board, because if I can't write where I don't know where I'm going, I've done it once or twice. It's amazing when it works, and that's about 1% of the time. So yeah, no, for me, understanding where you're going is what frees you up to just get in a room with these people and let them start talking. Over on the side, please.
I'm a huge fan, and first of all, I just want to thank you for Buffy. She's like changed my life. We were actually watching Buffy this morning. So my question is, with all your strong female characters, I know you get asked about them all the time, but what iconic female character would you like to adapt into a film or for TV?
I don't know. Iconic, I've never given this any thought. I've never thought, oh, I should make a movie about, well, actually, somebody once did come to me with the story about the Russian Air Force in World War II, the Night Witches. And I was like, now that's where, they had women aviators, so that was a big thing in Russia, and then their Air Force got decimated. So they all got called up. And I was like, that would be an exciting movie, except I can never tell what's going on during an air battle. You see a dogfight, it's just like, directional. I just, no idea. And I'm like, that's where you'd lose me. I'd love to be very specific about what's going on physically. There were a couple of things in Ultron where they're like, well, we should take this sequence and put it during the enormous final battle. Let's put it over here. I'm like, but they were standing here. I was like, they can't just suddenly be there. So, actually, yes, they can. You'll be fine. So, but that was one that I was like, oh, those guys. They were so hardcore. Let's go to the front. Yes, you with your hand in the face of the other man.
Hi, Chen from Israel. Sorry, I'm embarrassed to ask, but can I donate $400 for the cause for a picture with you? And also a question, so it won't be as that embarrassing. What ice cream would you create? What ice cream flavor would you create?
Okay, first of all, 401. Listen, I have to do my bit. That's it. That was my career as an auctioneer. Yes, of course. That would be amazing. And ice cream flavor. Peanut butter and gin. I think I think people have really missed. No, I never touched gin. Hat in the back.
Hey, hello. I love the fact about how you world build. You have this amazing way to build worlds, but then you also take some of the classics and you bring them back. How important do you think it is for us to look back at the classics as we train up our kids and stuff? And because you do this amazing thing that comes from yourself, but then you also take time to look back. And so can you talk about that balance? I'm a little nervous. Sorry. Thank you.
You did great. You killed it. Killed it. Stupid question. No, I'm a little old-fashioned. My friend Natalie Haynes wrote a book called The Amber Fury. I think it's called The Furies in America, about a teacher in Scotland teaching the classics to this, bunch of, bad kids. And the whole thing, there's a murder mystery and stuff, but it's basically this very impassioned argument from my friend Natalie, who was a classics teacher, why these stories resonate, why they still matter, why we have to go back to the Greeks, why we have to go back to Shakespeare, why we have to find out how these things apply in our lives. There are definitely texts that you look at and you cannot see the life in them because we've moved on as a language, as a culture. It's weird just to watch movies from 5 years ago and see the pace just keeps getting quicker. Like our attention spans, the way we take things in, it's constantly shifting and speeding up to an extent. But to take a work and to look at it really for a while, holistically, the entire thing, spend time studying it, writing about it. I never know what I think about something until I write about it. And then I'm like, that's what I thought. Like, it has to be something that you physically engage in. You have to take these things and you have to, and this of course requires the kind of teacher who can bring you on that journey, and that's a very difficult thing to find ones who are that good. But when you find someone who can make you understand how that was their version of what you're going through, it gives you an understanding of literature, an understanding of structure, of history, of all the themes that we have as a culture, as an American culture, and way back before that. So I think it's invaluable for us to hold on to the classics. Yeah, I've read some. I'm like, Theodore Dreiser is a bore, okay? He's not telling me anything. I think that they just said a bunch of fancy words and they thought he was important. But you're always going to find some that you don't care about. But at the same time, for me, I've learned as much from the classics and from great works as from anything else. I also learned from comic books, which I also consider classics, but in a different way. And, toothpaste commercials, it doesn't matter. You should always be learning. But yeah, those things, they are still touchstones. They have not lost relevance. They are not just too long and boring. They are crucial, and they're a lot of fun. So sorry, little diatribe there. Okay, ma'am. Yes.
Hi, I'm a high school teacher, and I was wondering, is there any teacher that you had growing up or in high school, college that really inspired you, and what was it that they did to inspire you?
I had extraordinary teachers. I went to Winchester College, which had a reputation as being academically the best school in England, and some of my teachers there, my English teachers, Michael Nevin and Tommy Cookson, these guys were just a cut above. My divinity teacher, Jock McDonald, the Bear, the head of the history department. Other teachers were afraid of him. I saw him yell at a boy and throw him out for glancing at the boy next to him while he was talking. Absolute madman, but you could not. I mean, it's so fascinating. And in college, I worked with Janine Basinger, who is just the most extraordinary person. Still a dear friend and personal Yoda. She has an encyclopedic knowledge of the entire history of the studio system, every single film, every single studio. She literally saw every movie that came out for decades, and probably still does because they don't make as many. And but at the same time, I had other teachers who were also extraordinary. Joe Reed and Richard Slotkin, who's written some of the most important works about American culture that ever will be written. And but what Janine does is learn, and it's the best thing you can experience with a teacher is when it becomes a dialogue and they're teaching you and you're teaching them. She brings out what you are, and in a film class, what you are is the only thing you're ever going to write about. It's really the only thing you're talking about. And you learn sometimes disturbing things about people when they write a paper on High Noon. I'm just saying, not naming names, but she engages with you in a way that you absolutely have to step up to the plate. You have to be fierce. You cannot miss a class. You cannot miss a word. It's always worth it. And then you find out that she's not talking at you. She's talking to you. And suddenly you're part of the teaching. And there's that stays with you forever. I owe so much of what I know and so much of what I understand to the teachers I had in college. They are like gods to me. And when I made Serenity, I got to take it to Wesleyan and show it, and I was like, there are at least 3 people in this room who are going to see themselves up on that screen because this is from them. Sir.
Hi, Joss. So I'm actually a film studies major right now, so a lot of what you're saying really resonated with me. I love The Court Jester, and I love to see it in some of your work sometimes. My question is regarding We're seeing you've mentioned before you love experimenting with mediums. What could be your next one? But you've already done web series. You've done films, and with kind of TV seeing like this, there's a blending between the silver screen and the small screen now, and there's like this influx of like auteur TV, where you have not necessarily just a showrunner, but someone kind of creating almost everything, whether through the screenplay or through other elements. Do you see yourself possibly like going back into TV in that capacity, as in like basically taking on a show and treating it like a mini series or a film?
God, yes, absolutely. I did not really understand that cable happened. I did not. I mean this. It's like a few years ago that I was like, "You mean there's boobs everywhere?" Like I was very pleased. And no, when we did Dollhouse, that is a show that, part of which could never really exist on network television. And Eliza already had the deal with Fox, so it wasn't going to go anywhere else. But quite frankly, that show would have thrived in a different environment that I honestly wasn't even aware of. Now I look at the shows, that they're doing, and guys doing like 6 episodes a year. I'm like, that's the life. That's okay. I miss long form very much, and there's no better way to sort of like really get under the skin, get novelistic. And as much as I adore movies, there are a lot about squeezing out the things you don't need, and so I miss the idea of doing something where you have the breadth to really investigate, but you don't have to vamp, but you don't have to like schmuckbait them through another, just to get to sweeps. So yeah, I'm very interested in that. Sorry.
Hi, I'm a huge fan for many, many years. Angel is my favorite TV show ever. And I was wondering, because it had the best ending at any series ever had, and I was wondering about that ending. Did you know at that point that the series was going to end, or did you have any idea of how are you going to continue after that?
Yes and yes. We knew it was going to end. Or I would not have done that to Wesley. And we also knew what we were planning to do next. And it's something that IDW did a lovely job of when they had the Angel license. Season 6 was going to be, we're still at Wolfram and Hart, but we lost that battle, and it's post-apocalyptic. And this is our hideout, and we have to sort of spend the season getting the world back on track. So that was sort of where we were going to go with that. I loved season 5. It was so much fun. It happened the way most of my good work happens. They took money away from us. They were like, here's less and more standalones. And we're like, okay. And for some reason, that worked. Well, bringing Spike in didn't hurt. Waiting, staring at me balefully.
Hey, so I was wondering, being given the reins to these mega tent poles and huge franchises, how tumultuous of a journey is that? Do you remember really fighting for something with the studios? They insisted on something. Did you stand your ground or did you give in?
Nah, I was a walk in the park. Super good. No. There are conflicts that get so entrenched and strange and desperate that at some point you don't know if you're still standing on the ground that you were standing on before. You've drawn lines in the sand all around you and you're trapped in them. It's very difficult. The problems that we had at Marvel were the highest class problems. Kevin Feige is a great storyteller, and Jeremy Latcham, my producer on that, is also a great storyteller. And I mean, I've said for my entire career, the best thing an executive can do is see a problem. And then get out of the way. That's it. And these guys were coming up with story beats and working structure with me and doing better than many highly paid writers I have seen, like extraordinary people. And that was kind of, you know, eventually there's going to be something where you're like, well, I want this and you want that. You're gonna fight, you win, you lose. The essence of the thing, did you tell the story that you tried to tell? Did you evoke the feeling that you wanted to evoke? Those are the things, those don't go away at all. Obviously, you know, it's been documented that the second one was a little more rough and tumble than the first, although most of the people during the second one were like, you know, we did all this on the first one too. I'm like, I don't remember that, we made money. That goes away. I honestly will probably never have as good an experience as I had in Marvel, because I was just a few creative people. We had some outside forces we had to deal with, but when we were in the trenches, we were all in the trenches for the same reason, trying to tell the same story. So I'm very grateful about that. It's nice now to sit on my computer and just think about myself, which is what I do most of the time anyway. And if you don't have that conflict, you are probably not making something really worthy. And that's, tension is so much of what goes into film, and that tension, the film doesn't exist in me, certainly. It exists in this spider web of tension between my ideas and the actor's ideas about their character, and the studio's ideas about what they want, and anybody who's involved. They all have the costume, they all want something, they all have a different version of this in their heads, and you just sort of like shoot a line over to them, and then somewhere along that line is where it's gonna be. And you create this extraordinary web, and then you find out what you made. It's not the work of one person. So when there's conflict, people, you know, we grouse, we grumble, I complain professionally, and I'm working on that. But the fact of the matter is that tension is what's gonna make the movie go from being good to being meaningful. Ma'am?
Kia ora. Willow and Tara were one of my formative queer couples, though I'm never quite going to forgive you for seeing red. Obviously, the political climate has become more accepting over the years. How much pushback did you get at the time, and have you noticed any positive change in terms of being allowed to represent diversity?
I think in terms of being allowed to represent diversity, obviously I haven't been doing much since the Avengers. But I was glad that I could make a stand for cyborgs or whatever the hell the vision is. I don't know. I think, you know, look, this is a very interesting time. It is, there have been so many advancements in human rights and in understanding, in my own understanding of just like who we are and how we are, and it's beautiful. And at the same time, we are seeing an undertow of, I think, partially reaction to that, of I don't want the world to change, so probably kick out Muslims. Let's kick out Muslims. That'll solve that. And in fact, so there's been so many things you could look at and be so proud of, and yet it feels like, you know, society is, I don't want to say crumbling, but crumbling. And I think, so I think, yes, the opportunities are there. Diversity, we're working on that. Hollywood's working on that one. Obviously, TV in so many ways is ahead of film. And theater is ahead of everybody, and they're so full of themselves. We had a Hamilton. You guys didn't have a Hamilton. Sorry, got lost there. But I actually saw a shirt from Hamilton, you know, it said, look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. And I was like, yeah, that's not the shirt I'm buying this month. Maybe in December. Look, you know what? I just wanted to say this. I don't mean to be polarizing, and but here I am. I have a microphone. People are watching me. Please do not make a cantaloupe with Tourette's our next president. We now return you to our regularly scheduled banter. Ma'am. Yes, please.
Hi, Jess. I'm a big fan of your work, Buffy being my favorite, and I thought, what inspired, thought-provoking question I can ask? There's been so many good ones, but a bunch of us Comic-Con nerds in my group are big Harry Potter fans. I want to know what Hogwarts house you'd be in if you aren't already in one.
I really thought if I get in, they're gonna have to like create Slitherpuff. Like I'm just like just a little trudging, but totally evil. But I actually just last week went on Pottermore and fucking Gryffindor. So, Masked Man.
Hello. I'm an average fan of yours. But
by day.
The end of Dollhouse was so amazing, and in my mind, it leads to the events that could have been a prequel to Serenity and Firefly. I like thinking that way because then I get 2 more seasons of Firefly. Any truth to my theory? Could that be something?
So you're like an ordinary guy, but you have one of those like serial killer tracking walls with like red string that goes from this to that. Yes, it's all one giant connected universe in a way that I will fan wank later, but I have not. No, I tend to write about themes that connect, but very seldom do I go, oh yeah, this is definitely part of the same thing, because then people will notice that I only have 2 ideas. Hold on, I want them to hear you.
I just want to say I've been a fan since Buffy.
I'll cut that. Fan of me. Okay.
Obsessed. I love the honesty of the characters that you've written forever. And I just wanted to say that I think it's your honesty why I told my boss I couldn't be here today or at work today instead of lying out and saying I was sick. And I just wanted to ask, of all of the characters you've written, is there any character that you just loved writing for more than any of the others?
There's a lot. There's a bunch. Generally speaking, if somebody is slightly unhinged or from another place, then it turns into poetry. Writing River, writing Illyria, that stuff is just for me, it's just this word. But you can get into syllables, you create on just a different level. And it means more, and it sounds weird and beautiful, and I love those guys. And then generally speaking, the favorite character is the one in the room. Let's call them the Cordelia. It's the one who later became Spike. It's the one who will say the thing that nobody else wants to hear, or that they're all thinking. The person who's the fly in the ointment, who's running against the current of whatever scene you're writing. Those people are they're the ones. Sorry, I can't just pick one. That's crazy talk, like a crazy person. But no, it's Mal. Nathan's huge and he's here. Mal, Adam, Dr. Horrible. Those are my favorites. Hatzer. Yes, that's her.
Thank you very much. Love Dollhouse. Wonderful. Quick question. Alternate universe. Same talent, no connections, written the best thing you ever written. How would you get it out there?
Wait, I'm sorry. When you say you, do you mean me or you?
Yes, you.
Oh.
Starting out from scratch, would you look at contests? Would you look at going into a writing program at a university?
Okay, so you don't mean me.
Well, I'm saying if you...
Sorry, I actually got confused. You're saying, is this like, if this is about advice?
Alternate university, or universe, right? So you then wake up one day,
This reply will be quite pat, sir.
You've got all the talent you have now, and you've written something very, very good that you think needs to be out there. How would you go about starting out, getting contacts, and getting into the business?
See, this is where I suck. This is where just go, cut the cameras. Because I was raised by a tribe of wild comedy writers, so I understood that world. I had access to somebody seeing my work right away. My starting blocks were, several feet in front of everybody else's. So I don't have a struggle journey. Also, everything has completely changed because that was, during the Restoration era, and I'm very old. So now my advice is what it has been for the past few years: make things. Make them completely, see them through, because getting somebody to read something is very difficult and very particular to a certain part of the industry. Getting people to watch something, while still difficult, means that you have proof of concept. You have proof that you have created something, and somebody will much more likely sit through something short than they will sit down with a script. And that person may be somebody in the industry, or maybe somebody not quite connected, but who's inspired in such a way that it starts something rolling. When I started, and all you could do was write a script and then either try to raise the money or find a studio to like it, and that didn't happen. I have 10 unproduced screenplays sitting in my filing cabinet. That's 1,000 pages plus of stuff that I bled over that never got seen because there really was no venue. So you have to create your own. I know that does sound like a pat answer, I warned you, but it's also true. That shot right up, yeah.
Actually, that was a good segue to what I wanted to ask. I work at the Library of Congress, and it really was. I work at the Library of Congress, and we have, not the political part, the part about your unused scripts. We have collections not just of books, but of movies and television shows, comic books, personal papers, and I just sort of wanted to plant a little bug in your ear saying if you ever want to donate, I'd love to see some sort of Joss Whedon collection at the Library of Congress, and I know curators would be happy to work with you on that.
So it turns out I'm lofty. That is very sweet. Here are the only two problems with that very beautiful concept. One, Janine Basinger, who, if I don't give my papers to Wesley, and will come after me with a butcher's knife. She won't actually do that, but I had a nightmare that she did one time because I forgot, I missed a meeting with her. The other problem is that my papers are a bunch of spiral notebooks or moleskins, any kind of notebook with just stuff I can't read anymore. That's it. That's man, space, girl thing. It's there's no paper trail. I have to go, write down some illegible notes, and then the script comes next. That's the problem. Most of the exciting sort of process was on a whiteboard, and there's not a lot of whiteboards in the Library of Congress, I'm told.
Well, Congress doesn't even read half the bills they pass anyway. So, I feel like we could.
Let's just say nobody's checked anything out in a while from that library.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time with Joss Whedon. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Keep it going for Joss Whedon, everybody. Was that fun? Fantastic. Have you guys, people been going to multiple panels at Nerd HQ this weekend? Have you guys enjoyed all those panels? Awesome. Thank you guys for believing us and supporting us, and thank you for coming and giving that guy so much love. We'll see you later. Love you guys. Bye.